Hi, everyone, and welcome to this panel for CADAF. We're here today talking about art, gaming, and collectibles, and we've got Alex from OpenSea, Leandro, Sebastian, and Arthur. So I'm just going to pass on the word now to Alex to give a quick introduction about himself and his project, and then we'll carry on introducing everyone else. And thank you very much all for making time to be here today. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Serena. Thanks for the invite. Happy to be here and see you guys again. I'm one of the co-founders and the CTO of OpenSea, which is a general marketplace for the decentralized web. And we started with CryptoKitties, which were the first real ERC 721 project. And we've gradually grown with the space to add new types of game items, new types of liquidity, better browsing, buying, and selling experiences, and a platform to help developers build their own crypto assets. And now the space has gotten a lot bigger. The number of contracts grows every single month that we see we minted on the blockchain. And we've started helping projects run primary sales where they issue their items before their game launches. And we've been working closely with developers to just help them market their games, get the word out, and pool buyers and sellers together in one place so that new items and new experiences are easily discoverable.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for this introduction, and nice to meet you. Leandro, nice to see you as well, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Serena. It's nice to meet you, and nice to meet you all of you guys. Well, I am Leandro Bellone. I am Argentinian. I live in Germany. I came here to develop my career as an automotive 3D modeler, and around 2017, end of 2017, I discovered NFTs and CryptoKitties, and I decided to go into this rabbit hole, and I created Crypto Motors with a group of like old friends that nowadays are like big professionals. We got an investor. We got all the team, and we started Crypto Motors. And I think we launched around end of 2018, middle of 2018. And also we are involved with a Pixel Chain, which is a decentralized app to create pixel art that gets stored completely in the blockchain. And I am also involved with Voxel Architects, which is like a metaverse architecture building company, let's say. Yeah.
Thank you very much, and I'm sure we will be discussing this much further.
Cool.
And then we have Sebastian from the VGA Sandbox. Hi, Sebastian. Nice to have you here.
Thank you, Serena. Thank you for the CADAF for having me here today. So my name is Sebastian Borget. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the Sandbox. The Sandbox is a decentralized virtual world where players can make 3D voxel asset and game experience and monetize them on the blockchain through the use of non-fungible tokens and our cryptocurrency Sand. We are leveraging our existing mobile franchise, the Sandbox, which was launched since 2012. It has over 40 million players to date on mobile, and we are taking this franchise into a new version, this time in 3D, multiplayer, multi-platform, that use blockchain technology to offer decentralized and true ownership of the content made by creators on our platform. I'm also the president of the Blockchain Game Alliance, which is a non-profit organization that counts now close to 150 members from the gaming industry, blockchain games, investors, media, websites, and many other actors of the ecosystem, including many of our members today, from the Mogda, from Non-Fungible, NFT London, OpenSea, Crypto Motors, and Somnium Space.
Thank you. It's wonderful to have you here, and I know we will have so much in common to discuss. And last but not least, I'm going to introduce you to Arthur, who's going to be talking to us from the metaverse. Hi there.
Hello. Hi. I'm Arthur. Thanks for having me. Serena, thanks for inviting. Hi, guys. Nice to see you, of course, as always. Big pleasure. I'm Arthur. I'm founder and CEO of Somnium Space. We are creating a virtual reality world which is run on blockchain. So every item every land parcel, everything people own here is on the blockchain, on the Ethereum blockchain, and people can trade things, buy things directly from within VR, and just run their own business, exist here, and do whatever they want and build some cool stuff like this in this world. And yeah, pleasure to be here, and glad to discuss our today's topics.
Fantastic. Thank you all for joining us in this great conversation around art, gaming, and collectibles. So the first question I have, and I would like to address to Alex and everyone else, of course, is what inspired you in entering this industry, and the investment that we all been doing with our own projects and organizations within the gaming, but most of all the collectibles as well. What was your motivation for starting this adventure?
Well, so when I was exploring crypto, like just the whole crypto space with my co-founder, we were looking for places that weren't all about speculation. And when CryptoKitties launched, that was the first time anybody I knew who was not just speculating on crypto was trying to get into the space without just wanting to buy drugs. And it really seemed like this could be something. And I also realized that a lot of the times when new technologies have emerged, it's really hard to do them in a B2B way, like make a big enterprise SaaS company built on top of Ethereum, which is kind of the world that I came from. And that's because people have like certain standards for quality and uptime and latency, and new technologies just don't usually meet those standards for a while. But with toys, with things that are like beautiful, or with brand new types of games, the users are a lot more forgiving, which we really appreciate because we've had our share of bugs. And there's something kind of like really engaging and authentic about a game, or like something that you just are going to play with, something that really just wants your time innocently. And so we just started going into that area. We noticed that like a lot of people had similar problems with fraud with game items, and that there were a lot of people in the space who weren't just trying to speculate on crypto, but who were genuinely interested in using it. And we kind of built our company by talking very closely to users, to a lot of them every day, and kind of watching the solutions that people develop and figuring out how to refine them as we go along. Mm-hmm. So we eventually expanded into art and into other types of crypto assets, because I mean, art is I think even more so than gaming, had no technology solving its problems before crypto assets. I mean, almost basically negligible technology. It's kind of going from zero to something. That's an infinity % change.
I'll say 0 plus to, definitely a higher number.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it feels, well, I mean, regardless of how like effective the technology is, it does solve some problems, and there was nothing before. So it feels like a very significant change for artists, and it's one of the highest growing verticals on OpenSea. It's kind of, you can also think of it as like one of the easiest ways to become an entrepreneur in general. You just take things that you've been making just for the fun of it and upload them, mint some collectibles, and now you can sell it and you can profit when other people sell it. So we've been helping people do that, and we've been helping other projects build storefront builders, because we were like very much about the interoperability aspect of the blockchain and how that improves products for everybody.
100%. I think what you just described now is that your motivation and the way you started was by connecting to people and to really listen to the user experience and what your customers wanted from such technology. I'm going to address this question now to Sebastian and Leandro, and asking you, what was your motivation for entering in this industry?
Well, as I was mentioning in our introduction, we are starting from an existing IP, a franchise called The Sandbox, which is a user-generated content game where players could make their, so originally on mobile in 2D, they could make their own pixel art world, playing with over 500 elements, and then being able to share those creations in an online gallery in a centralized manner on the App Store or Google Play Store. So we are literally over 70 million players made creation, shared, and a large community of active users who was spending literally hours, days into designing, creating, drawing, making games, and in some way, all those content, all those creation they were making, all this time that they were investing into the product, there was actually no way for them to take back any value, any ownership of it. So all of it, they could only share it for like social fame, for the pride of having a reputation in our online gallery where other users could rate their creation, but there was no way for them to monetize it because of the boundaries of, well, a closed wall garden, closed economic system, which is essentially, as you know, the mobile stores and free to play. So it came to us quite naturally around the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, right after CryptoKitties appeared, that, oh, wow, those non-fungible tokens, back then ERC 721, which we improved after by co-working on the ERC 1155 standard with other game developers, namely Engine and Horizon Games, that combining user-generated content and non-fungible tokens was one of the best use case of this technology. So we have finally people making content that becomes tokenized and can be traded, monetized in any way they want. They truly own their creation. And because we are a user-generated content platform, we are now moving from 2D to 3D, this voxel representation. The way that the Sandbox started is also through artists. So in Sandbox platform, we have three main products. The first one we introduced at the end of 2018 was a product called VoxEdit, which is a free tool on PC and Mac where you can make your own 3D models and animation, and then publish those creations to a marketplace where they become tokenized as NFTs and can be sold and traded and used beside in our hands through the third product, which is the Game Maker, which is the one we haven't yet launched, but will be launched toward the end of this year. And I think that gives us how we enter the space, and the interesting way is we enter it through creators and artists. Like the vast majority of our users, and we have over several thousand of landowners. We have 10 of thousands, I think 13,000 accounts on our dashboard, users with a wallet. Many of them, they are actually artists who are designing 3D models that you can already see in an online, on the shop online. So that's how we got started, I would say.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it's so much important to see and know who the real users are, and really knowing those personas and understanding why they are coming to the platforms, and talking about artists and the challenges that these technologies are also supported in a way in solving in some areas. Leandro, what's your experience in building?
Yeah, so basically I come with the role of artist, let's say. It's more like the designer who come and wanted to create some cool stuff. And because in the automotive industry, we work with like super high standards, and we create like the 3D models that we create is the product that you see in the street, you know, it's like the car that we have in the screen is exactly the one that goes through a machine and it gets produced, you know. So got me thinking like, I could offer these same quality assets to gamers around the world, and thanks to the NFTs, to this technology, the people could have real ownership of these assets, so we can give like real value to this. So yeah, I when I saw CryptoKitties, like my brain like I started to work like into this direction, and yeah, and I built a team, and I got straight into this.
It feels like that the CryptoKitties moment sort of brought a lot of excitement for many of us. And talking about art in games, I'm just going to introduce now Arthur and talking to us from these virtual environments. Hey, Arthur. So the question
Hello.
for you is, just to follow up on our conversation, how do you see art and games sort of in relation to each other? Meaning, do we consider games art, and how do we approach art in the gaming environment?
Right. Yeah, I think definitely games are art, because when we create the game, we put a lot of artistic, our inner selves into that, and we try to create it in a way that appeals to people, but with our vision, right? So we have a certain vision of how we want to build the game, and to me it dates back to 1999 when I started to play Ultima Online, the first online multiplayer game where people were running in the server, and every action you did actually affected other people. Then came Second Life, where actually art became kind of a thing, because suddenly people were able to go from a 2D flat screen mode on the monitor to a 3D flat screen on the monitor, where they saw things in 3D in Second Life. And I remember I was playing Second Life a lot. I used to be a DJ in Second Life, going to DJing for parties of 200 people, and actually earning money, by the way. But I remember people doing sculptures there, right? They were doing things, they're doing art pieces, they were importing some images. And I think they were super thrilled, and they are still super thrilled to actually be able to see something in some virtual environment. And my wish was always, when I was in Second Life and I was seeing those beautiful environments there, right? Great disco clubs or amazing things around me, I was always dreaming, how can I actually be on the other side of the monitor? How can I be there? One day maybe we'll be able to do that. And of course, all the books and Snow Crash and stuff, and then Ready Player One later, it kind of led to this, and I was dreaming about VR, and suddenly in 2016, when the first mainstream VR headset came out, it became possible to actually immerse yourself inside virtual environment like this, where I am right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And I'm so curious to see what, these environments are going to develop into and what we're going to be seeing in the upcoming years. That's something that Alex first sort of touched on. We are talking now about the gaming and art industry, and you sort of highlighted some gaps within the art industry that somehow the gaming industry is trying to address. So my question is, what does the gaming industry offer that the art industry is currently lacking of?
Well, I guess I'm not I'm not understanding the question. I kind of am defining the game industry, the blockchain game industry, as projects that are incorporating items that players use as a means to some end, like to some objective within the game. And winning the game, or that objective in the game, needs to give you some sort of like predetermined or planned praise. And art, I don't know of any art projects that are trying to do the same thing. If they are, they're probably called games. I don't know if they're like, they don't even need to do that, because a lot of crypto art is very open-ended. There's no predetermined end that you're trying to achieve with the item. And there's some like suggested ends, like, hey, I'm gonna make a like a sculpture, and you can sell this, and it'll work in Somnium Space and Crypto Voxels, for example, or in Sandbox and Decentraland. And the main things going on there are like these events where people can make their own ends and come up with new games and play those games with the same art pieces. So I guess maybe that's the big difference, is like the games just have a predetermined end that's made by the creators of the art.
Absolutely, yes. I feel that in a way, the more traditional or standard, let's call it, art market and art world is not much familiar with all the tools that now are becoming more and more available within the art, the gaming industry and the gamification of art in that sense. But talking, for example, about the sandbox, I know that artists have been finding ways of creating art within the game, and the fact that these are now tradable, that artists can earn royalties by trading those assets and also enhancing the game by giving those assets some, ways of adding to the characters. For example, how has that been for you, Sebastian, in terms of developing the game that is very much connected to the artistic side?
So we have really taken this like a stepped approach. First, we have launched, as I mentioned, the voxel editor, and we've showcased a lot of content made by the creator. Those content, they are not just 3D models that are standalone by themselves, and you just take them and they sit and you collect. Like we've tried, we are a gaming platform at first, so we have been working into building into those 3D assets also like the different attributes, patterns, and value systems that will give utility and give value to those 3D models within the context of a virtual world gaming platform. So that's the next step to our approach. After we also been selling lands, virtual lands, where creators will be able to publish their creation in our metaverse and use the asset from the marketplace. And the last step is the game maker. The game maker is not yet live, as I was mentioning. We just released the alpha version a couple of weeks ago, and we're really excited now to see some of the first landowner and the first artists who are using the tool, combined with VoxEdit, combined with their creativity. The fact that it is also a no-code approach, so there's literally no programming knowledge. You don't need to write any code to start making games. The assets have their behaviors, they have their attributes like power, attack, defense, luck, and magic, and the value system. And it's all of this boils down into this is a creative environment where you can let your imagination go through, and you can build the content you dream of, and it's fun. It's essentially fun. It can be beautiful, but it's also like really enjoyable and exciting to be able to play with your content, play with your asset in the world, and start setting it up the way you want. And we attach to that the idea that you can monetize all this creation step by step. First, you can sell your content on the marketplace. Then you can also sell. We will be able to sell the game and the land, so that host this game, and we'll build progressively additional monetization mechanism through the SAN token that we haven't yet introduced, but that will be coming later this year, and through various mechanisms where, as pioneers in play to earn, we want to make sure that anyone that takes time to contribute, to build content, to play inside Sandbox World has something of value that it can retain for itself, as well as participating into growing the overall value of the ecosystem. So that's something really important for us, and that change from what we've been building before with the IP in a centralized manner, and that's only made possible through the use of blockchain.
Absolutely. Thank you for actually addressing the fun aspect within the gaming environment, and also about the fact that it proved to be more sustainable. So what we're looking at here now is the Somnium space and Arthur being immersed in it. Hi. And what I see on your side is a sphere. And I want to, first of all, ask you what that is. And then asking also, if you feel that the blockchain, in a way, this technology that became widely available around 2017, 2018, has been, in a way, a real game changer for the art and gaming industry.
I think so. So just to answer your question, this is a 360 blockchain art. And the beauty of VR space, of Somnium space, is that you can, as an artist, by the way, shout out to Nature Warp. This is an artist who created this. You can finally actually immerse yourself in the 360 art. So if I just walk like this closer, you see the portal is opening, and we're actually slowly but steadily entering the 360 art. And now we're inside his creation, and we can, look around. And I mean, it's hard to comprehend in a monitor. How do I see it right now? It's absolutely amazing how this looks. And he can place these portals like this instantly within our builder, and he can place it, save it, and upload it, and everyone can see, like me, for example, hang out. And if I want to buy this art, I can just come here and click on this. Click on this art. I can have a look. How much that costs. Let's have a look. Oh, okay, it's 1.5 ETH. So I mean, it's doable. It's a nice piece of art. And of course, if I buy it, I can immediately place that bubble onto my land parcel inside Somnium. And regarding the blockchain in general, this is the game changer. And the reason for that is pretty simple. I mean, I've been a gamer for the whole of my life. And everything I did in those games, and I participated in the economies of these games, right? Second Life, Ultima Online, hundreds of thousands of dollars are traded there or were traded there every single week. The problem with that is if it's a centralized system, and if everything you own is on that on that server of the company, if they control whether you have access to your asset, that becomes a huge problem. And blockchain solves that for users. So now suddenly people who are buying land here or they buy art, they own those tokens, for example, in their MetaMask wallet, which is independent from Somnium Space. And if something happens, and we had these issues here, for example, some users went absolutely crazy and they started to post some, images here. You can imagine which kind of images. So we had to, talk to them, and then we had to ban the user. But after we banned the user, he actually was able to just go and sell his land and made a $5,000 profit. Now that's revolutionary for itself, because in any moment of time, if you play Fortnite or Second Life or anything else, right? If you get banned, you lose everything instantly, and there's no question about it. I was banned in Ultima Online back in 2003, right? And I lost a lot of things which I was earning and actually had real value. So this is just one of aspects which revolutionizes and teaches users that everything you work for in those metaverses will actually be yours, and you are actually able to retain the value and get that value out or trade that item with anyone at any moment of time, for example, through OpenSea. So this is the future of gaming, absolutely. And I don't think it's only gaming. Art is changing everything, how people consume art, how people exchange art, how they buy it, sell it. It just opens a new Pandora box of possibilities for game publishers, for gamers. And we always say kind of a bold statement: games which will not have blockchain incorporated within the next 5-7 years will be dead. It's just because once users realize that they can own things they earn in those games and they can trade them, it's a very, very, very powerful statement from and the proper value proposition from the companies.
Mm-hmm.
That's very tweetable.
Sorry,
That's
what?
true.
Games that don't incorporate blockchain will be dead in 10
Oh,
years.
you can quote him. I'm super hyped on that, because it's just so obvious for people, for game publishers and for gamers. It's hard right now. The entry, we know it, right? We all know it who are here. The level of the barrier for entry is pretty complicated. We're getting there. It's getting easier, but still we can see it, from our VR community. They're getting into blockchain. It's a learning curve, but it's getting better. And within several years, this will be solved, and there will be no barrier of entry for anyone to just start being on blockchain and trading their items there. And companies like ours and Sandbox and OpenSea, we're all working towards that smooth process and teaching people how to use this technology. So as I said, 7 years.
Well,
hey, game publishers, we're watching.
I'm definitely gonna take you on that one, Arthur. And actually, my next question, it's gonna be quite challenging in that sense, because it will be about right. So if we think about big corporations, right, big video games corporations now in the world, which we can name a good number. So what are your thoughts on securing your strength into the art and gaming space, considering that big corporations might step in once scalability somehow it won't be an issue anymore. So what's your position on that?
Look, I always say I don't see any problem because, like if we look at people said, oh, your VR world, what if Facebook Horizon comes in and then they eat everything? I don't think so. I think open metaverse is a future, and metaverse is not one company. We're building a virtual world which will be part of the metaverse. And Sandbox is another part of metaverse, and CryptoVoxels and Decentraland is another part of it. And people will be able to move within those worlds freely, and they will be able to enjoy their assets in each of that world independently on the world. Now that's a metaverse. So if Facebook Horizon comes in and they don't incorporate blockchain for some reason, they'll be missing out for a lot of users, because users will want to have their identity, they want to have their items, they want to have their currencies, they want to have their everything together with them on a blockchain, because again, it gives them this ability to own things. And if any company will miss out on that, they will miss a huge portion of people. Now, today, there's not so many people on the blockchain, but the number is growing, as Alex said. But tomorrow, there'll be more. And the reason for that is simple. People want to own, and once people can own, they will. And there's nothing which can stop that. So the number will grow. The technology will be here. The scalability, Ethereum and other blockchain networks will be there to support that growth. And yeah, I think big companies, they either looking already or they should be looking pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So it feels like, in a way, that you describe this as the interoperability of the systems being really what is so powerful about, for example, CryptoVoxel, Decentraland, and Sandbox, and of course, OpenSea. I'm curious to hear Leandro and Alex's vision on this.
Yeah, I think also when big corporations are coming, we will have more places, the creators, to place our own creations. Yeah, so the artists will be able to go to these new these new worlds. They can jump from the Sandbox to, I don't know, to Horizon, and you will have more opportunities to display your work. And for companies like Crypto Motors, we will have more use cases for our NFTs. That the main reason behind of having this is like having real digital ownership and having interoperability in this metaverse. Yeah.
And for you, Alex, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I guess I have a different perspective. I think it's really rare for a big company to hit 2 paradigm shifts. Usually companies only hit 1. Facebook is kind of riding 2 paradigm shifts, social media and VR, but they acquired a company to get the second one. And that might happen in blockchain gaming too. Like a big company could acquire a blockchain company to jump on this paradigm shift. And I more lean towards the probability that this will monopolize users. If a company that's building the hardware layer, for example, that's building an actual headset, funnels its users to use Rec Room, for example, or Roblox, like that's where kind of all the attention's going to be. And there's going to be natural moats that build up, moats around things that people make, moats around liquidity. And there's going to be, I believe there will be a lot more interoperability between like that Rec Room example and a Sandbox, Somnium Space, Crypto, like all the other projects working in the space and Crypto Motors. But it's going to be about like quantity of content creation, of quality content creation that drives users, and then tons of users will come back and make the quality of the content even better. And I think that that's sort of always been a self-fulfilling moat, and I think it will in the blockchain world too. So I'm more like, I guess I'm definitely looking at ways of figuring out how that cycle is going to develop, and want to make sure that there's always going to be interoperability, regardless of how monopolistic the funnel is from the hardware makers to the software builders.
Mm-hmm. For sure. That's an interesting vision that you shared with us just now. Leandro and Arthur, and Sebastian, I am interested now to know what's your vision on investing, for example, in these assets. So do you think that investing in NFTs and digital assets, it is where the major investments are going to be in the next years?
I mean, if I'll speak about that, I think the number one thing I'm always looking at, if I'm, if I'm just judging something as a project, or also us as Somnium Space, we always say there has to be a use case. And those use cases could be different, but if there is a use case, there will be growth. Now, digital art has a use case. It brings people and new emotions. It brings you a joy. It brings you satisfaction by just looking and experiencing that in 360, for example. Now, tokens. If I look at tokens, any token, I look at the token and I say, can I use this token in a sensible way where it brings me some kind of use case and value? If the answer is yes, I think there is a potential for growth. If the answer is no, then I have a hard time. It's my personal opinion. I have a hard time justifying the price of a token. Now, in Somnium, it's pretty simple. People buy land, for example, just because they can build things like this here, right? They can just simply go and build amazing galleries and monetize their own creations. That's a use case. And people can buy art here to display, in other places. That's another use case. So that's always how I approach tokens and how I approach, I think, things in general. If you can use, if they're useful for people, if they bring some kind of emotions or use cases, then I think there is a big future. And good news is, majority of tokens, or a lot of tokens, I don't want to say majority, but a lot of tokens which are traded nowadays, they have some kind of use case, right? So Crypto Motors, they have a game which you'll be able to race the car, or you'll be able to, race the car here in Somnium in VR. That's a use case. That's a joy, and you can play the game. Sandbox the same, OpenSea, obviously, kind of have a shelter of all of that. And yeah, that's how I look at the tokens.
Mm-hmm. And if we see these in terms of the land or the actual architecture, and that's for Leandro and Sebastian, do you think that that is where major investments are going to be?
But maybe if I may answer this one, like what we are providing, we are building a virtual world. We're essentially providing the platform and the tool and the value system behind the content that is 100% made by the users, so that what they create has not only utility potentially inside Sandbox and its game maker and fun gaming environment, but potentially outside as well. I do believe that that tokens can become all those digital assets. They can become the next billion-dollar asset class if they are also valued on proper ground and we understood like what is the underlying value of those assets. So it's not just about collecting something based on its rarity or scarcity. There is a use case for it, but I would say like the size of the audience behind all the people who are interested into this market is more limited than the size of all the players who can actually create content, play content, level up content, make content accrue in value and trade those content. So we are more focused on the use case of gaming in our case, like how do we enable players to monetize their time, to monetize their creation on our platform. And we are also thinking on ways on how our ecosystem can enable not just players and creators, but a lot more, many more actors to participate in the value creation of the platform. Those actors can be indeed the landowners who are going to rent their land to other creators. They can be service providers who will be hosting multiplayer servers or who can design, create content for other rent their services to other creators. For example, Leandro is doing with Voxer Architect. So how do we empower more people to make revenue through our platform is, I think, one of the key elements that always feeding the way we are designing Sandbox. And this, the way to earn, the way to be incentivized in the platform when you are on blockchain, should also not only be on the non-fungible token, the digital asset, but we think also potentially on the utility token that support the platform. Like when someone decides to own the asset and the utility token of the platform, they became more than just buyers, consumers. They are stakeholders of the platform. They own a part of it, and by their active participation, they contribute to grow the value and the success of that platform. And this value can be, thanks to the decentralized nature of the blockchain, can go through much further than just the initial platform where the tokens originated from.
What? Sorry, I just wanted to get Seb's quick opinion on, or Archer's opinion on Rec Room. Have you guys played with Rec Room at all or seen it in VR?
Of course. I mean, so I'd say to your previous comment regarding the creator of hardware automatically gravitating people towards this one platform. Let's say Facebook, who owns Oculus, will push people to use Facebook Horizon. Now, I don't think that will be necessarily true, and the reason for that is people will use their platform, but in general, it will be a win-win situation for VR market at all, even for us. But the reason is, like, if you look at SideQuest, which is an app which allows you to sideload unofficial apps to Quest, they had a huge growth. People just want to sideload different apps, not only what Facebook allows in their walled garden. So I think if Facebook closes this opportunity, then they will actually hurt themselves so much that some other hardware manufacturer will come in and fill the gap. In terms of the Rec Room, I mean, it's a virtual reality social app, which is mainly, let's say, focused on gaming. You have different, like, paintball there. You have some social aspects. You have some sports there in general. It has its own aesthetics. I can compare Rec Room to Outspace and to VR Chat, for example. I'm personally more leaning towards VR Chat style of things and our style of things. For me, Rec Room is a little bit cartoonish style, but there's a lot of people who are interested in Rec Room, and they're having fun and they're playing their short games. They're building some small environments there. So yeah, it's definitely a social app in VR which has its own place, and they earned its place. And I think it's a great app.
One thing I'd like to add, and I kind of agree with what you said before, Alex, is also, like, in my opinion, there will be thousands of virtual worlds that contribute to the metaverse. It's not just one it's not going to be just one actor, like maybe Fortnite, maybe Facebook, maybe Roblox, that will be the main one. Like, there's different target audience. Users are not necessarily going to stick to one virtual world only, because they will have different set of friends, they will have different identities across several virtual world, and potentially they can do different things. There are some where they can just do business, work, they can experience art, some they can play, some they can play, like their kids can play, etc. So in a general manner, it's even better overall that there are many, not just one winner in the space that takes all. And whether there's blockchain or not involved behind, like, it's just a matter of things. Like, we are going to be living more and more in virtual worlds than we have seen over the last decades. Like, I believe this is really, everyone is looking at what is the next big thing over this upcoming decade in tech. And this is essentially socializing, playing, connecting with others across many virtual worlds. And it doesn't matter if those virtual worlds is going to be the next major MMO, Call of Duty, or Fortnite, or Roblox, or Sandbox, or Decentraland, or only Somnium Space, Crypto. Like, so that's something I'm really enthusiastic about, actually.
Exactly. There will be a majority of them, and there will be many of them, and some will be more popular, some will be less popular. But, like, I myself, I'm founder and CEO of Somnium Space, right? But sometimes I go and hang in Rec Room and VR Chat and Outspace, because that's that's normal. I always find it normal. We actually were the first one in the world to create a portal from Somnium space to high fidelity to another VR world, which allowed people to directly teleport from Somnium to high fidelity and then go back. We're actually doing it with others, and we'll soon show some really cool things. You'll be able to go from Somnium to crypto voxels, for example, with one click. Because again, why not? It's the open system, and we all should support that. And that's what Metaverse is. It's not one app; it's just many other apps together.
Mm-hmm. That's very, very interesting, and I feel everyone is sort of hoping, especially in the art world, that they could jump from one artist studio to another, possibly in the Metaverse one day.
Exactly.
Which would be absolutely fantastic to see and experience. As we're moving to a conclusion to this conversation and entering the part 2 of this conversation, I want to address Leandro and Alex to this question about sustainability. How do you see that going forward? How do you see the NFTs and the gaming industry merging within the art in terms of sustainability? So we're touching here about, the building those spaces, but also the secondary market. So if Leandro if you want to talk about your experience, and then
I think assets are getting more and more like kind of specialized. For example, in crypto motors, we specialize in one type of assets that are cars, and we try to maintain quality across all our line, and we don't tokenize so many cars, so we create scarcity. So if assets are, or let's say artists and game companies are creating this scarcity and maintaining like high quality, and each time they grow with this quality, I think the market and the secondary market will be healthy, let's say, because there will be more and more players and collectors for these items. And yeah, I don't know if that answered the question.
So if we were going to summarize what sustainability looks like, for example, in OpenSea, Alex, what would that be?
You're talking about sustainability of the economy around a specific game.
Yeah.
So, really good question. We've seen a lot of economies now, and some have been really short, and some have lasted from like 2 years. 2 years is pretty much the longest we've seen. I mean, CryptoKitties is still going, and that's been 2.5 years. And I definitely think there will be times in the economy that are better than others. I still know people who make a lot of money breeding CryptoKitties. It's not as much as 2 years ago. I knew some people who were making $30,000 a week just breeding the CryptoKitties, not even flipping them. And but that sort of activity is now happening in other games, and a lot of games are making bridges with games that have had economies from a while ago, like Upland, which is on a game built on EOS, just made a CryptoKitties bridge so that you can like make Tamagotchi style experiences on Angel Island in San Francisco. So I think what sustainability will most likely look like, given what we've seen so far, is games that have hype periods and then sort of flatten out. And then every time a new experience comes along, just like what Seb and Artur were talking about, that lets you teleport into another world that everyone's pretty familiar with, it'll just have like continuous waves. It'll look like the ocean. And because these assets are decentralized and never go down in terms of who owns what, we can continuously have these new experiences build on old ones and bring them back with higher and higher tides.
That's such a great vision, what you just shared with us. It's giving us, again, a vision of the ocean and how big and extensive this could be, and how many things can still be explored and discovered within the space. I would like to conclude our conversation as we move on to the next part of this talk. If you could share with us a thought about what you would like to see in terms of having even more user-friendly and a good way of merging art and the gaming environment together. So if you could sort of leave us with a thought or a comment that could be, some food for thoughts for artists out there that have been visiting CADAF and how they can approach games in a more user-friendly way. So maybe we can start from Arthur, who's or Sebastian as well.
Yeah, I can share some thoughts on that. I think I'll just say to artists, and we see already a lot of artists coming here, and it's just be creative and think about ways how your art could be experienced in a different way than just maybe a 2D image or a GIF, even though that's beautiful. But think about creative ways like this. This video, if I see, that's an art. That's an art piece which is beautiful, and it affects how I perceive this area right now. So I would say, be creative. Think about new technologies like VR, how people will be experiencing things, and don't be afraid to experiment. And I think, just immerse yourself into your art, and then let others immerse themselves in the same way. And you will see that people are actually emotionally connected to it much more than they used to be before. And of course, it will also lead to better monetary results for you as an artist and for industry as well.
Thank you so much. And Sebastian, what's your thoughts on that?
I can definitely echo Archer on that. We are like a creativity platform. So we are really inviting artists to think on like, how can I use Sandbox to give life to my asset? Or how can I create assets that are live and interactive as a game? So it's not think broader pictures than just exposing a gallery with your art. It's fine, and you can already do it in other virtual worlds. So what is the next thing you can do? What's the next kind of art you can make? Oh, well, games is a great way to engage, to tell a story, to make your user think about specific topic. You can leverage all sorts of assets, whether you create them yourself or you use those assets from other creators, other artists. Bring the character to some progression, to some way to collect items, to get rewards, to talk to other characters, to solve problems, to maybe kill enemies or spawn specific things. So, and every experience that a player will, and when a new player enter in this, I would say, game/art creativity world, it can be different. So everyone will have its own perception of that art, and it's being strengthened by the fact that it's a game platform, and it provides you tools. And I'm really looking forward. I'm really excited to see some artists who have been using the tool to express their feelings on some current topic about Black Lives Matter, or just express their vision of some sci-fi, etc. We are running voxel art creation contests. It's already really beautiful, but the next step is bring them to a virtual world and make games with them.
Lovely to hear. Thank you, Sebastian. And Leandro, what's your thoughts about bridging art and gaming?
So I think, like, for example, going to a place like Sandbox or Somnium Space and being able to place your art or make your art interactive in these worlds is the best bridge for artists. Like, I see like guys like Alota Money exploring the Sandbox and creating like super awesome interactive experiences with their art. So yeah, I think basically every artist should start exploring the games like another way of express their emotions, let's say. And that's what we try to do from Voxel Architects. Like we try to put all our knowledge and all our emotions into these massive builds that we started doing in Crypto Voxels. We did one in Somnium Space, and we're going to the Central Land as well. And now we are starting to test the alpha from Sandbox. So yeah.
It's fantastic. That's great news. And Alex, what are your thoughts on how we can best address art and gaming?
Well, approaching it from one direction, I think gaming has a lot to learn from art, particularly because it's not easily experienceable. I don't think that's the word. It's not easily like consumable at a glance like art is. But there are a lot of games coming up soon that I'm really excited about because they are viscerally a lot more easy to experience. To single Seb out, if you go to the Sandbox Twitter page and just click on media, it's just like a whole page filled with GIFs and images that just look really beautiful. And you can imagine lots of art emerging out of a really beautiful game experience. And there are a whole bunch of other games that are coming out soon that I think are like, oh, the shadow. I mean, this looks like Peter Pan here from like my childhood experience. There's a lot of like actually engaging visceral things because the quality of the content is just getting better. So kind of a rambling answer, but my general feeling is that games need to get better looking and art needs to get better integrated with them.
Amen.
And I feel that's that's a great message to conclude that conversation with. I thank you all very much for joining me today. And thank you for your time. And it's been wonderful to be hearing about your visions, your thoughts about art and the gaming experience. Once again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And I will see you all very soon. We move on to the second part of this talk. And I'll wish for all of us to stay connected and to carry on these conversations, hopefully in real life very soon.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. I'll see you
Bye,
very
guys.
soon. Thank you. Take care.